What is going on, guys? Thank you for joining us. It's the 27th of July and we're here for the Monday night show. Now, people might see in the bottom corner of the screen we have a Real Oviedo badge. It is Chris Darwen has joined us, the man behind Jonny Cooper Championship Manager and the man behind Torrevieja, people will know off the internet. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Paul. How you doing?
I love how I just described you as the man behind Torrevieja on the internet.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I am now.
And you have become world famous due to your appearance on We Are the Managers. What's it called? We Are Managers?
Yeah, we are the managers. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that lasting till around about Thursday lunchtime. Then people will forget who I am again.
Well, 15 minutes of fame, as they say.
Yeah.
And we also have on his first show officially as one of the hosts of the Monday Night Show, we have Colin all the way from the United States of America.
Good evening, guys.
So delighted to have you on, Colin, from this week onwards, unless you're late from work.
Yep, glad to be here.
Yep, it seems. What time is it there, sir?
It is 5:01 p.m.
So every single Monday at 5 o'clock, Colin will be sitting down to talk football.
Okay.
Or soccer, which he will no doubt say at some points.
Oh, I try not to. I try my best.
And believe it or not, our former host, who left the show because he couldn't get back in time normally, has actually come in the chat. James has managed to make it home from work on time on the night he's not on the show. So cheers, listen, James. Appreciate you coming on. And we're going to get into tonight's topics. The first topic we're going to go on is the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which finished last night. And Colin actually did an interesting piece on our website. His perspective on the whole tournament. There was a couple of shocks, the likes of Trinidad and Tobago top in the group, Colin.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen any of the Gold Cup, I'd say the Trinidad-Tobago-Mexico last group game in Group C was probably the highlight game of the entire tournament. Literally to the last whistle, it was back and forth, goals all over the place in a 4-4 draw. A bit of a surprise. I think the other one, which was really quite amazing to watch, was the emergence of Jamaica in the region. You can definitely tell the influence of going down. I think was 8 or 9 of the starting 11 were the same between the Copa America and the Gold Cup, and you could clearly see the influence of a new coach and that level of play and the discipline that they've been putting in down there starting to really show up in their squad.
I think I'll openly admit I've not seen much of it. I've seen about half a game, and it's due to the time zone, which a lot of Europeans might have turned around and say the exact same thing. They've missed it due to the time zone or due to other games being on. For example, last night I actually chose to watch the MLS over it, just because I hadn't followed the competition, so sure. I didn't want to kind of jump in and just watch the last bit because I hadn't followed it. So Jamaica had done fantastic to get to the final, but I felt no attachment to the competition to want to watch the final, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It's always a bit of a strange tournament, right? Because you're playing, there's the way that it ends up being, so Canada, the U.S., and Mexico are always automatic entries, and then the rest of the tournament's filled out evenly between Central American and Caribbean teams through the Central American Cup and the Caribbean Cup. So usually the group stage is pretty boring and awfully one-sided because typically Mexico and the U.S. walk through whoever is there, and the littler guys play against each other in some decent, usually it's some decent games, but it tends to be fairly one-sided in the group stages. The quarterfinals can be that way too, so it's not usually till the semifinals that the tournament really kind of pops, and it's usually mostly the final. This year was a real surprise. I think the group stage produced some really good games. Haiti coming out playing really well. Costa Rica falling off. I think they're really suffering under the expectations coming out of the 2014 World Cup and the run that they put on there. They haven't really been able to live back up to that, and they limped pretty hard into the eliminations out of Group B. And then Group C was really the story, the emergence of Trinidad and Tobago. And then the quarterfinals was pretty straightforward. I think the U.S. demolished Cuba, and there's a lot to be said for whether or not that was where we burned out. It was a very hot, difficult day in Baltimore where they played, and a 6-0 thrubbing may have overdone it a little bit. I'm not sure you can make that claim given some of the poor performances from the U.S. team in the last several months, but that's a popular theory. Haiti and Jamaica was a really, really very good game. Trinidad and Tobago and Panama was much better than it could have been, and then Mexico and Costa Rica was sort of the first of the controversy in the Gold Cup for some really, really poor decision making from the official, and the penalty kick which put Mexico through in the 124th minute was really quite a lousy call. There's been a lot of suspicion. In the past, the tournament suffered from some issues with match fixing accusations, and I'm sure this one isn't going to be any different. The Panama-Mexico game was brutal.
Is that where there was a lot of trouble in it?
Yeah, so there was a bad penalty call, and CONCACAF has admitted after it that the official made a mistake, and the ref admitted he made a mistake with it. The Panama players walked off the field. They were trying to convince the manager to abandon the match because they were being skewed against. There was, fans were throwing things on the field. It took almost 15 minutes for the penalty kick to be taken, and then it all sort of fell apart there.
I've got a question for you. Sorry to jump in, Colin. In fact, I'm actually going to put this to Chris first. Chris, he's talking there about, obviously, there was a penalty incident. The Panama players and our staff felt aggrieved by it, so they wanted to actually walk off the pitch. Do you feel that is almost kind of linked to, I know obviously Panama aren't American, but they were playing in the US, and this is a North American competition, and the way that in US sport they obviously have review systems and everything, do you feel that wouldn't happen in Europe? The decision would be almost accepted because it's a bad decision. I almost kind of put it down to that soccer's looked upon as if, there's no review system, there's no breaks in play and stuff. Has that almost helped them spit the dummy out?
I don't know, to be honest. I can't. I was just voicing saying that. I was trying to think if I could think of any European game where a team has virtually walked off the back of a bad decision, and obviously you get fans kicking off quite a lot.
I can just imagine now, Americans around America, not soccer fans. Obviously, this is named to you, Colin, but I can imagine Americans sitting around now going, "Oh, well, in our sport, they'd have paused it and reviewed that, and it would have been fixed."
Absolutely. In something like in the NFL, college football, certainly a play of that magnitude would have stopped and absolutely been reviewed. So yeah, I think it's one of those. I think it's going to be a game that when it comes back up again about whether or not there should be replays and reviews in football, I'm sure it'll be a good case study for the use of replay to help avoid something like that.
Yeah. I mean, in these situations, you do almost say, well, yeah, they should look back at the stuff, but then you should also say, look, deal with it. The players and that, they've obviously overreacted. Referees make mistakes at the end of the day, no matter how much we hate it. Can I just give a quick mention to CM9798, who's tweeted saying he's listening to the show, so thank you for tuning in, sir. If this is as cultured as you get, I'm sorry. We'll try to sound very cultured. But go on, Colin. You finish off your review.
So I think you mentioned from the final, I think the final was very one-sided. Mexico was clearly the better team. It was the first game of the tournament where they really showed up and played like you would expect Mexico to play. They put their stamp on their sort of dominance of the region. I mean, they looked very, very good, and Jamaica just didn't have much for them. So the U.S. in the third place game looked terrible and deserved to finish fourth. So the interesting part of the whole deal now is October 9th at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. The U.S. and Mexico will face off for the CONCACAF spot in the Confederations Cup. So,
can I ask why?
Why
are they going to face off for that spot? Why aren't Mexico just automatically in it?
So between each Confederations Cup, there's 2 Gold Cups that are played. So the Gold Cup's played every 2 years.
Okay.
So if you win both of them, you automatically get it. If you don't, each winner plays each other for the right for that.
Yeah, makes sense.
and then the region decides where to host the playoff based on who's in it. Hopefully Klinsmann has something up his sleeve for that one. We've had some good runs against Mexico lately, but I think we need something good because the way that the U.S. was playing, I don't think we've earned that spot.
I noticed there as well, just a quick mention, just to finish this off, the Golden Boot went to Clint Dempsey, a player who I think most people will agree shouldn't even have been playing in the competition.
Yeah, and to be fair, I'm one of those. I really thought that U.S. Soccer dropped the ball with how they handled the disciplinary action after the U.S. Open Cup. I understand that there was a substantial amount of pressure to put, the goal scorer, especially given how bad Altidore has been playing at the international level. There was a lot of pressure to have him in there, but I think he absolutely should have been sitting at home watching it on TV like the rest of us. Chris,
something to add on that?
You can't tear up a referee's notebook and expect to be allowed to play football again in the sort of immediate future.
It's strange how they've basically kind of went, this guy's too good to drop.
Yeah, but it's okay. He's not allowed to play in the US Open Cup. That's okay.
A competition most clubs don't even take seriously.
Yeah,
it's frustrating. Yep. But yeah, people go and check it out. It's definitely worth reading. Reading this, I sat and read this earlier, Colin. And you've actually convinced me that the next Gold Cup, I'm actually going to try to watch most of it. Because it sounded like it was actually a good tournament and definitely worth a watch.
It is. I think this one has a lot of good predictors into what I think we're going to see from the CONCACAF region in World Cup qualifying. I think World Cup qualifying is going to be a lot better than it's been in the region in the past.
You've got a post due as well about World Cup qualifying over the next few days, which is definitely going to be worth having a read because CONCACAF is starting very shortly for 2018.
September is September is the third round of qualifying in our region.
Starting early.
Yeah.
But we'll move on to some friendly action over the weekend. The International Champions Cup, the Emirates Cup took place. Some clubs playing in random places, and Man City played in Vietnam. It's crazy. I've said in previous shows I'm not a fan of this travelling all over the world. I think Arsenal are more than likely going to win the Community Shield next week, in my opinion, just because they are already in London, where Chelsea is still in Montreal, I think. And I think it's just crazy the amount of travelling they do. I mean, I know they were saying, I don't know if you heard this, Colin, but Chelsea actually kept a single base for all of their games in the US, and they just flew in on the day of each game.
Yeah, no, I know it's something, and you hear it a lot, especially with as designated players come in, and especially mid-season designated players come into the U.S. That the amount of travel that you have to do to get around and time zone shifting that really does a number on it. And I know Van Gaal has been quite vocal in his in his first 2 years with Man United about the same problem. So yeah, no, I heard the same thing that they that they tried to base, and most of their games have all been in the Eastern time zone, so it's helped a little bit, but it's still a lot of traveling to shuffle.
I think you said it was like 2 and 3 hour flights, so it's not the end of the world, but I wouldn't call it ideal.
No, I would agree. I think it's still a lot of wear and tear. You're talking about it, even if you're chartering flights, it's an hour or two, getting to the airport, getting through, getting on the plane, a couple hours to get to where you're at.
Exactly.
You need half a day by the time you're anywhere and to get yourself warmed up and ready to go.
Yeah. We'll go through some of the games. I watched Barcelona play Manchester United, Chris, and it was definitely a pre-season game. Man United dominated. I mean, even Man United's backup players came on and dominated. I think Barcelona looked a shadow, missing a couple of players. Suarez looked like the main talent, I thought. I mean, you can't really read much from these games, can you? Because at the end of the day, there's certain players were performing and other players looked like they weren't really interested in being there, to be honest.
You can't take a single thing from these pre-season tours whatsoever. I mean, if you went off the back of that, then United probably were going to win the league last season. Valencia looked like the greatest right back in the world. There's absolutely nothing you can take from pre-season at all. It's all money-making exercise nowadays.
I mean, I do understand it's all about money making and stuff. It just
I mean,
frustrates me.
I think Barcelona would have probably got over that defeat by just sort of popping home and having a look at the Champions League trophy.
It's cheer them up a little bit. Yeah, there wasn't much. I mean, I don't want to sit on all the pre-season games because there's not really much to talk about, as you say. So I think what we'll do is we'll actually move on to the transfer news before we'll get into the Torrevieja talk in about 10 minutes for the run-in for the show. But first off, we'll do some transfer talk.
Now this is the really interesting stuff.
It is. Do you have one which has stood out to yourself, Chris?
I'm sitting back and watching Brendan Rodgers go about his business in almost exactly the same way as he went about his business last summer, which is just absolutely scattergun purchasing, which is being badged up as really long-term strategy. And having looked at the players that he's buying, I've got absolutely no clue how he's going to be setting up a team next season. Benteke just looks like another version of Balotelli in terms of style of striker. I think Benteke is a much better player than Balotelli, but Brendan Rodgers has never traditionally been a fan of that type of striker. I think Milner actually might turn out to be one of the signings of the season. I mean, to pick him up on a free, and if he's going to play him central midfield, you never know. He could turn out to be absolutely exceptional. And then there's far too many other sort of bits and pieces players that you just don't know whether they're actually going to deliver or not. Gerrard, when leaving, said he wanted to see sort of cast iron certainties in terms of performances being signed. I don't think that's really happened. And United have been quite interesting to watch. It looks like I think they've probably had the best summer in terms of strengthening their squad.
I think totally agree with Liverpool. It frustrates me the Benteke sign because, as you say, it doesn't suit the style of play that Rodgers seems to favour. Where's he going to fit in? I'm unsure because you've got the likes of Sturridge is going to start. Then you've got Coutinho and the guy from Hoffenheim, who I can never remember how exactly I pronounce. You'd assume them two are going to play behind Sturridge, and they're not wide men, so it's going to be nice.
So where's the cross is going to come from?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, you need wide men if you play Benteke. They don't have many wide men. They're probably going to play a wing-back formation. I think it's becoming more and more apparent, I think. My issue is Danny Ings, Chris. I mean, I feel so sorry for that bloke. I mean, he's coming to the squad.
Yeah.
There's no way he's going to start it before Benteke now just because of the money they forked out for Benteke.
No, exactly. And you just wonder why they've bothered buying Ings. I mean, he didn't really set the Premier League alight at Burnley anyway. And okay, he wasn't exactly the most creative of teams, but he still didn't really look like the best of the lower level strikers. And he's just not going to get a game of football. He's going to be a slightly younger version of Ricky Lambert. So a team like Villa will probably pick him up in a couple of seasons' time for not much money.
I'd have him in Newcastle. He can come over, no problem. Yeah. But I think the next transfer, just to quickly jump on, is before we talk about the likes of Chelsea and stuff, is a player who left Chelsea. This is going to take Colin another couple of minutes to explain this. Basically, from what I understand, Didier Drogba was signed or claimed by Chicago, but then Drogba said, I don't want to go to Chicago, I want to go to Montreal because French is my first language, and then Montreal said, okay, we'll buy him from Chicago, even though he never actually went to Chicago. Colin, what's going on?
Okay, so this is part of the intricacies of MLS rules. So MLS clubs are allowed to file what they call discovery claims on players. So they can say, hey, we found this guy, he's available, and we want his rights for first signing, which is basically what it is. So effectively what Chicago did was bought the rights to sign Drogba to MLS first above everyone else. So they went over, started to negotiate with him. Rumor was that it took Drogba a while to come to the conclusion that his career in Europe is probably over and MLS is probably the best option for decent money that he had sitting out there. So it sounded like he resigned himself to that he was coming to the United States as opposed to sort of actively wanting.
Yeah.
During that point, the owner of the Montreal Impact went to London and started to talk to him. And I guess as the story has gone, they did a lot in French, and basically Montreal made him feel that he and his family were going to be a lot more comfortable. So he decided he wanted to sign for Montreal, which is perfectly fine. So the only hitch was Montreal has to buy his rights from Chicago in order to sign him with the way that everything works. So what Chicago did in a clever piece of business is they took him for quite a bit. So Chicago they haven't announced, so MLS teams don't have to announce what they pay each other in trades and transfers. But the rumor is it's $250,000 of both regular allocation money and what they now call targeted allocation money. So regular allocation money is money you can use to increase your salary cap or use for transfer funds for players. The more interesting stuff is what they call the targeted allocation money. So this is new in the new collective bargaining agreement. So MLS gives MLS clubs this targeted allocation money, which they can then apply to a designated player's salary to bring it below the $300 or the $423,000 or $426,000 a year maximum, which then allows them the ability to sign a fourth designated player to the team. So Chicago's in some desperate need of offensive power. Giving them some extra funds to pay down some salaries to go after some bigger guys could potentially make a dangerous club. The tool is what LA is using to pay down Omar Gonzalez's salary, and that's how they got Gio Dos Santos into Galaxy.
Oh, Dos Santos is signed for Galaxy?
Yes, he is. He is an LA Galaxy member now.
Wow, I missed that completely. I don't know myself, Chris.
Actually, one of my rare bits of MLS knowledge, I had picked that up, yeah.
There was, I watched the Emirates Cup at the weekend. Villarreal were playing, and they were talking about Dos Santos being back for the, back for the regular season starting. So when does he go to LA?
I think the transfer is done and dusted. It was he went through 2 weeks ago or so.
Nice of the presenters of the football to know that. What was it? Oh, that's what my mind went blank. Sorry about that. I was going to say, Chris, this Didier Drogba transfer, just to end on that. Strange and interesting deal. I genuinely don't think he's going to set the world light in the MLS. I think he's going to struggle. The more I've watched the MLS and the more I've seen the pace of the MLS, I really do think he's going to struggle. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I don't know. I've been amazed that Drogba's gone on as long as he has, to be honest. I mean, he went off to Turkey, and I thought, well, that's probably him done, and he did okay there. And then he obviously had a bit part to play at Chelsea last season, and although he wasn't anywhere near his sort of former self, he still could do a job. I don't know. I just get the feeling he might surprise a few people. And I think that the point about being made to feel a lot more at home in Montreal could be a real key thing that might get an extra 10-15% out of him.
I know he got 7 goals in 40 for Chelsea. So I suppose if you take away the league, I suppose if you got, say, 20 in 40 for Montreal, it's not too bad if you then count assists and shirt sales, etc. on top of that.
Don't forget the tutoring sort of side of it, the experience.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, thanks for explaining that, Colin. It does actually make a lot more sense, but it is pretty complicated.
Yeah, the rules are a little weird. And just one last piece, I think I think they're hoping he's good for a few goals and some experience with the squad. I think the other side is that I think it's much more of a marketing move for Montreal. They need to do something to help get people into the stands, and after their really good Champions League run this last year, they were starting to build some support, but the team's fallen back off in the league a little bit, and I think they need to do some more. So I think it's more a good piece of business for the club than a great improvement for the squad on the field, but I don't think he's going to hurt them.
Just at the final bit of transfer news that we've heard this weekend from the MLS, which involves New York Red Bulls, Colin's weekend home. Well, you have made a signing, Colin. Do you want to announce who it is?
Sure. So, brother of Bradley Wright Phillips, Sean Wright Phillips, is now wearing the number 98 for the New York Red Bulls, and he will be available to the squad based on what they said for Saturday's game in Philadelphia at PPL Park against the Philadelphia Union. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him out there to see what he can do for us.
A lot of pace,
Nice
Chris.
I was going to say, it's quite nice to see they gave him the shirt number that matches the amount of minutes he managed to play for QPR.
The funny part is his brother wears 99, so I guess too many ways to line it all up.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely looking forward to it. I said to Colin earlier, I said what he's definitely going to bring is pace. He might drop down injured after the first run, but for that first run, he's definitely going to offer pace. Yeah, I do think he can do something, especially Sam on the wings being a decent player for you. And he's got a bit of pace about him as well, hasn't he, Colin? So I think them two on the wing could do some scary damage to teams.
Yeah, Lloyd Sam is, and hopefully he's back from his groin problem. Is an absolute speedster and is one of the probably one of the best creative outlets we've got going this season. I mean, we're not exactly scoring 1,000 goals. So I'm hopeful that more pace down the wings, better crossing ability, some more creativity is going to turn into a better scoring record because we certainly need it.
I know the only times I've seen Sam play though for the Red Bulls has been on the right-hand side, and yes. Sean Wright Phillips is very one-sided, so Sam will need to move over. So hopefully he's capable of moving over to the left because I can guarantee Sean Wright Phillips cannot play on the left wing. And if he does, you will see a lot of crosses. In fact, I know where you sit in the stands, and you will get hit by the ball if he plays on the left wing.
Oh, good. Well, I'll have to make sure that I keep my eyes peeled.
Because every cross will go slightly skew-whiff. Chris has just sat there thinking, yep, guaranteed.
Yeah, I don't think Sean Wright Phillips has got a lot left in the tank, to be perfectly honest.
He's all about pace, and I do think he can do some stuff. As long as he's still got his legs, I reckon he can give them 1 or 2 good years. But like I say, his ability with crossing and stuff isn't the best, so I just fear if they stick him on the left wing and he tries a couple of left-footed crosses, he'll be hitting Colin.
Yeah, I'll make sure to keep my eyes peeled on him. I would expect if he's so dominant on that side. I mean, Lloyd Sam can float back and forth, and he typically does within a game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch anyway, definitely. But we're going to move to Spain now. I wish. Nice sunny weather. How is life in Torrevieja today?
It's a little bit frustrating today. It actually, at one point in Torrevieja, got up to about 44 degrees in temperature.
It's hard life.
With the humidity as well. That can be quite tiring for a day. So
I think we hit about 10 at a point.
Yeah, that's the difference between Norway and Spain, mate.
Yeah, it was lovely. Just quickly on the side, Ryan is listening. He goes on holiday and comes to listen to the show. Must be a very exciting holiday, Ryan. So, Chris, you have played Hull City's academy.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we had a busy week last week because we played, as you say, Hull City under-21s on the Friday night. Before that, we played Elche's first team on the Wednesday, and then Cordoba's first team the previous Saturday. So sort of 3 pretty big sort of pre-season friendlies in the space of 6 days. So
there seemed a lot of Hull fans, by the way.
Yeah, as you know, Torrevieja's got quite a big expat community. So, and actually quite a lot of them come from the north of England, and quite a lot of them come from Hull. So it was actually like an away game for Torrevieja in many ways, because the Hull fans did actually outnumber the Torrevieja fans.
But it's good though. It gets people in. Them Hull fans might have come and watched the game, then went, we'll come and watch this team again.
That was exactly what we were hoping for, and hopefully we will see a lot of them come back for the regular sort of league season. I mean, a lot of them do actually live out here, so hopefully they will now adopt their local team, and I want to come along and give us a bit of support. Obviously, we did everything we could to facilitate that, including giving away a last-minute winner. So hopefully everyone was happy enough, and and we'll see them all again.
And how is the team shaping up? Are they looking fit? Are they looking ready?
Well, considering the teams that we play, Cordoba got relegated from La Liga last season, so going through a bit of a rebuild, but are still expected to bounce straight back up from Adelante this season. We more than matched them in the first half and probably outplayed them in the first half, and that was the first time that our team had played together. We came in at 1-1, and it took 2 excellent goals to beat us in the second half, and we ended up losing 3-1. Elche only got relegated from La Liga for financial misconduct, were more than capable of holding their own, and they've still got a lot of their first team players still at the club. So to lose 2-1 to them, again, with a very, very good winning goal, was more than creditable. And I think if the lads on Friday night should be walking off the pitch really disappointed that they haven't beaten Hull. We were 2-1 up with 10 minutes to go, and then we've conceded another 2 goals from set pieces. We've so far in pre-season, I think 50% of the goals that we've conceded have come from corners and free kicks in and around the area. So that does show one sort of area that we definitely need to be working on. Players-wise, there's a lot of new signings, a lot of people sort of trying out to make sure they make the final 20-man squad. Some have been really, really good. Some have been sort of okay. And some probably need to do a little bit more just to sort of show Pedrinho that they're going to warrant a place in the squad. I think the standout lad's been a guy called Luis Carlos, who's come back from a team called Novelda. He played for us about 3 years ago and was very good, but then went off to play for these guys Novelda, who are in the same league as us. But he's come back and he scored against Cordoba and Elche. It looks very, very good.
Nice. No, sorry, go on.
I was going to say we got a new lad up front called Juan Fran, who's been in the last 3 seasons has played in the team that's got promoted from the Tercera group in each of the last 3 seasons and been the top scorer in that team in each of the last 3 seasons. So and he managed to score from the penalty spot against Hull. So big things are expected from him.
That sounds promising. The striker at the end. Because I was going to say the sad news to many FM Central listeners will know is that Obella's left over this summer, Chris.
Yeah, Abella was released by the manager over the summer.
He obviously hadn't played with him on Football Manager.
Well, my Spanish being as broken as it still is, wasn't really able to get the message across.
You were just shouting FM at the manager.
Yeah, exactly. But the Abella suffered from a niggling sort of injury at the end of last season, so actually under Pedrinho probably only played about 25-30 minutes. And in that time he was kind of rushed back from this calf injury, so was nowhere near sort of full fitness, so really didn't get the chance to actually show what he probably is capable of.
Okay. Well, fingers crossed the new look team is going to do well this season, because obviously we've got a lot planned this year for Torrevieja, as you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So I mean, definitely hoping.
The squad's looking as good as you could hope, really, after 3 sort of pre-season games, I think. I mean, it's always difficult to tell when you're playing teams that are bigger than you, because we've probably raised our game a little bit because we're playing a bigger side, and they've probably dropped down to our level a little bit. So you're not going to get a really fair reflection of where we're at. But I think in terms of just looking at the players as individuals that have come in, I think we're probably man for man a stronger squad than we were at the end of last season. But nobody's really going to know until the league season kicks off on the 23rd of August.
Yeah. James on the side has said he's found Luis Carlos on the editor, and Obella's now playing in Algeria.
Okay. Cool.
So there we go. James knows his stuff. The man of all transfers.
If James is finding the new players quite quickly, then he might fancy putting together the Torrevieja database for me.
That would be nice. Keep him busy.
Yeah.
Phone just went mental. Ryan says he's not long arrived. The man said he set off to Belgium like 12 hours ago. Get a car. But I think transfer-wise it's been quiet, really big deals-wise. Di Maria is leaving United, which I still can't decide if it's a good move. He's obviously not happy there, Colin, but stats don't lie, people saying he did better than people think.
No, I think I think the issue, if you read a lot of the backstory, was how just absolutely uncomfortable and miserable he and his family were off the field. They were living in a hotel for almost the whole season. They had people breaking in. I suspect that had a huge part to play. That he was looking for anything to get out to be comfortable. And from what I understand, with the sale to PSG, that he's being welcomed in pretty openly. I know, on the preseason tour here, Ibrahimovic has talked a little bit about how excited he is to work with him crossing in. I think that could be a potentially amazing partnership for a season or two. I'm not sure how much more Zlatan's got in the tank for that level, but some wild crosses coming in to him would certainly produce some goals. I'm interested to see what happens with Cavani in that whole mix out of there, but I think it's a good move for Di Maria. I think personally he'll be better. You could see the difference between when he's comfortable and when he's not, and he was clearly not comfortable in Manchester.
I've got to say, Chris. I think I saw a tweet from a Manchester United fan today. It wasn't deluded by him, by the way. It was somebody else. And he said he was glad Di Maria was gone because they could replace him with a world-class central midfielder. Sorry, with a world-class midfielder. Now, am I wrong, or wasn't Di Maria a world-class midfielder?
Di Maria was a world-class midfielder before Van Gaal decided to try and play him in every single position other than the one that he's really good in. And then when he did play in the one that he's really good in, he played really, really well. I mean, Di Maria, I can't remember who he got sent off against, but he did get sent off really stupidly, which I think must have upset Van Gaal quite a lot because he didn't really get much winking after that game. But, I mean, I like Van Gaal, but Di Maria is an absolute class act. And he did show in patches that he could be a class act for United, but then he started getting played as a striker, and he's not a striker.
Yeah. James is saying on the side, if you send in the Torrevieja details, it'll get sorted. And he also said Afellay, Montari and Vidal moves were decent this week. Afellay, I'm glad, has actually come to Stoke because that guy at PSV was fantastic. And he kind of got ruined at Barcelona because he went there on a free transfer, didn't he, a few years ago? And he just never really got a chance. He did suffer from very serious injuries while he was there. So I am hoping he can kind of almost kickstart his career again. The Montari deal I've totally missed, and the Vidal deal, Chris?
Yeah, that's it's a sensible sort of replacement for Schweinsteiger, really, isn't it? Everyone's been chasing Vidal for the last sort of 2 or 3 years, and he probably improved most midfields. So he's going to probably one of the strongest midfields in Europe, and he's going to be able to sort of show whether he really has been worth all the hype that's been sort of put on him.
Yeah.
He's a cracking player. I would be very, very surprised if working under Guardiola he doesn't go on to be an even better player, even if he is probably only going to be working for Guardiola for a year.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, Colin. Can you see this happening? I mean, there's almost reports saying there's guaranteed it's true, but Guardiola's really going to leave and go to Man City?
I mean, I guess I've seen the same things. I think it's a terrible fit for him there. I understand what Man City's doing and what they're all about, right? They want to win. They want European trophies in the cabinet. I can't blame them. If I was putting that much money into something, I'd want returns at the highest level. I just don't. I don't see him fitting into England. I'm just not convinced. I understand they probably have thrown some absurd amount of money, but
it's a strange one, I think. It just doesn't suit him because they obviously demand so much so quickly. And also they gave Pellegrini 5 trophies in 5 seasons demand, and obviously he's delivered so far on that.
Yeah, but he's not delivered the one trophy that they really, really wanted in that 5. And at no point have City looked like they've made any sort of further progress in Europe in terms of being a little bit more aware of what's needed to win Champions League. And one thing Guardiola does obviously bring is that sort of level of pedigree.
Yeah, they look shocking in Europe. For me, tactically they look shocking. But in pre-season so far, in the games I've watched of them play, I've seen them play a couple of games so far, and they are trying out the formation of the 4-3-3, which the fans were screaming for last year. So, be interesting to see if they implement that in the Premier League a lot more.
Well, they seem to think that the answer to winning the Premier League is Raheem Sterling at 49 million. So,
blowing in, he falls over so far.
I'm fairly certain that City won't be winning the Premier League this year.
In the two games I watched last week with Man City playing, I've never seen someone spend so long lying on the floor in my life. Literally every time I play, when near him, he was down.
Did you not watch Emil Heskey in his prime? He was, I think he was here's a really retro reference for you, but he was nicknamed Frank Bruno because he spent so much time on the deck.
Another big guy who's built massively, falls over every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But that's it for tonight's show. So thanks for coming on, Chris. Really appreciate it.
No worries, thank you.
And Colin, the first of many. So it's safe to say I will see you next week.
Absolutely. We'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
Chris.
Cheers.